what would be your overall architecture on tax reform? Another person asked regarding a flat tax. So I'm combining those. Your answer, please, from an audience question.
Sure, so the good news is that our tax system is so broken that there are about 100 ways we could try to address it and we would still be getting it right. The flat tax would be the best. The idea of lowering, flattening, and broadening our tax base is fundamentally the best way to create the sort of incentives that we want for hard work and to make sure we're allowing people to bear the benefit of their hard work and their risk-taking. So I would support a flat tax. There's a number of other ways we could go about doing that, though, and we're seeing a lot of different plans from the presidential candidates. There's several steps in between if you talk about having to try to work with the other party, because things are so broken with respect to the way we tax people that there are just 100 different ways we can get it right. One of the easiest, another piece that would be a specific piece of my plan would be repatriation of foreign profits. We've heard a number of presidential candidates talk about it. There's $2 trillion sitting overseas because there's a tax penalty for bringing it back. If we can reward it for bringing it back, we get $2 trillion tomorrow injected into our economy to build our country with.
To me, our tax system needs to be simpler, fair, and we can talk about flat. I've read a lot about the fair tax. I think we should discuss it in Congress. To me, we need to do one of those. Any of those would make it better than what we have now.
Should it be revenue neutral?
No.
Why not?
That I couldn't tell you.
The argument being a tax policy that allows that if you enact it, you're keeping revenue neutral and not increasing the national debt, which is precisely a concern that people in this audience say they have. It's revenue neutral.
Well, to me, I would go with a fair tax because that's a tax on consumption, and I think that would be fairer for all of Americans.
I believe at this time that this country needs a way to have a predictable tax system, tax revenue that is predictable, it's fair, it's not complicated, it's not 8,000 pages of the tax code. So I would advocate no taxes for families that make under $30,000, that's income taxes. All right? I would advocate 3 other tax brackets, 10, 15, and 20%. And those 3 brackets would be for people that are adjusted gross income exceeds $50,000 to $100,000 would be the 10%, $100,000 to $200,000 would be 15%, and over $200,000 would be 20%. I think with that, we would give a fair break to those folks out there that are having a hard time saving for the future, educating their children, and just paying their expenses. I think if we went to a simplified plan, guess what? We could probably reduce the size of the IRS by 50%.
Have you crunched those numbers? Have you crunched those numbers to see what they do to debt? Some argue that the wealthy, let's argue $1 million and above. Some argue the number's lower, but that the wealthy be getting quite a break on that. Would that exacerbate the national debt that so many people here consistently say is their big worry?
No,
have you crunched the numbers to know that?
I disagree.
Have you crunched the numbers?
I think it would stimulate the economy.
But have any of you crunched the numbers? One of the things people tell me all the time is they're tired of generalities. Have any of you crunched the numbers before you're presenting numbers like that to an audience like this?
I have crunched the numbers, and you would have a positive revenue stream for the size. You have to do 2 things. You have to establish a tax base that's fair to everyone, and you have to cut the size and scope of government. Those are the 2 things that you got expenses on.
Yeah, I would absolutely be in favor of a flat tax. The first $25,000 for everyone would be tax-free. The brackets would be
an income tax flat tax?
Income tax, flat tax.
Consumption tax.
No, we're talking about the income tax.
Okay.
Yeah, the first $25,000 that everybody earns in a year is tax-free. The brackets would be 0 to 100, 100 to 250, 250 to 500, and 500 and above. You'd absolutely create a bonanza in the country for the flat tax. It works. It's worked in other countries. It will work here in the USA. Now we also have to cut spending, and in that regard, we need to get serious about the balanced budget amendment. It's extremely important that Congress is serious about that. And the repatriation of dollars that was referred to, absolutely, those dollars need to come home.
Thank you, sir.
We need to give them tax credits if they spend those dollars on capital expenditure.
One of the things that I've heard, and we certainly, and I've advocated in every campaign for federal office, a repatriation holiday, 5% on some of that $2 trillion. I believe in a modified flat tax, and what do I mean by that? First of all, unlike some, and unlike Donald Trump, I believe everyone should pay some income tax, because otherwise, if you have no skin in the game, then it just becomes a spending thing. I will try to score some numbers, but I call it modified fair flat tax. We're talking about income tax now, because I would allow certain deductions. Your home mortgage and your tax on your on your real property, your estate, would be deductible, and charitable contributions would be deductible. And there are many, and the problem, Michael, with the question about Congress and what as the legislature, there's a static scoring system. We need a dynamic scoring system. Ronald Reagan, Jack Kennedy, all show that by lowering rates, you bring in more income.
I'm not for a flat tax, and that's because I believe if you do something right, if you're going to do something once, then you do it right, and I think the right answer is a fair tax. I believe that we get rid of the capital gains tax, that we get rid of the death tax, that we get rid of the income tax, and that probably the most destructive of all taxes, we get rid of the corporate income tax. And if we take a look back, I think this is a much bigger issue concerning jobs, because if you say how to create jobs, well, you create jobs by the need for consumption. And the only way somebody can consume more is if they have more money in their pocket, whether you're talking about an individual or a business. And so the way that we put more money in the pocket of individuals and a business is by not taxing them more. And so I believe this is possibly the greatest way to increase jobs within our community, within our state, within our entire nation, which is going to increase the revenue stream of taxes, which I don't have an exact number for you on.
But shouldn't we have, in fairness, I mean, this is the audience that keeps saying they want specifics and they're tired of generalities, and yet we're throwing out some pretty ambitious tax policy here with no specifics to back it up. I haven't heard anybody raise, said I've scored it, I called the CBO on my own time, the Congressional Budget Office. I mean, who here ran their numbers by the nonpartisan, allegedly, and I know some people won't agree with it, but who here took the time before this meeting to run their numbers by the Congressional Budget Office to see what it would mean?
I ran my budget, or I ran my tax plan by the Heritage Foundation.
Right.
This is something that I specifically went over with Heritage, and basically what the line that we came to is this. The fair tax rate should not be greater than 10% of the gross domestic product. And that's the numbers that we crunched.